How to get thousands of dollars of free radio publicity for your book. You've written your book. You've gotten some sweet reviews. You've even made some sales. And still you're not reaching the majority of your audience. The question is why? A very successful New York Times best-selling author once told me that writing a great book is only 25% of the proposition. The remaining 75% of your effort is marketing and promotion. Let's face it, it's not always easy to be noticed with all the competition out there, but there is something you can do to separate yourself from the herd. I wrote my first book, The Street Smart Homebuyer, in 1997. I managed to get nationwide distribution and it was in all the bookstores. But after a couple of weeks with slow sales, the distributor sent the books back to me. I was running out of marketing ideas and I was about to give up. I'd read about doing live radio interviews as a way to get publicity, but to be absolutely honest, fear was holding me back. I guess I felt I wasn't savvy enough for such a lofty idea. I seriously considered wholesaling the books I had and be finished with the entire project. The only thing that felt worse than quitting was having to admit I hadn't done everything I could to be a success. So I dealt with my anxiety and picked up a list of talk radio stations that booked guests. Before I go further, I want to add that talk radio doesn't exclusively book just authors. Hosts are seeking almost any topic that's interesting, informative, and entertaining. Here are just a few. My decision to try talk radio didn't make it any easier to believe I could do it, though I was resigned to give it my best effort. I first called radio stations with weak signals, reasoning that if I completely blew it, not many people would know. To my surprise, it wasn't all that difficult, and here's why. My topic was creative real estate finance. Having spent the previous 5 years as an active real estate investor, I knew my topic inside out. It was actually fun explaining it. After 3 or 4 relatively easy interviews, I was ready for larger markets and more powerful stations. One of my early interviews was on a major station in Seattle. I sold nearly 200 copies of my $25 book. With that success under my belt, I felt silly that I'd ever hesitated. I did more than 60 interviews for that first book and many more on other titles since then. Without a doubt, talk radio publicity has meant the difference between success and failure for me. I wouldn't dream of publishing a nonfiction title without being able to make the rounds with talk radio shows. So, how do you make this work for you? Well, as they say, it's not exactly rocket science, but there are some do's and don'ts. The first thing you need to do is identify your audience. Where is your appeal? Once you've got that figured out, you contact talk radio station hosts and producers and pitch your show. Simple, right? Actually, it is simple, but there are certain rules of engagement you need to follow. Think of it this way. If you can write a book, you can do this. And if you're looking to promote something other than a book, you can handle the simple details required for that as well. I explain the entire process in this easy-to-follow 160-plus page guide, How to Get Thousands of Dollars of Free Radio Publicity for Your Book. Here you'll find everything you need to contact a station, come away with a booking, and get your book or info out to the people who will benefit from it. We'll begin with a little about me and how I started doing radio interviews. We'll cover everything you need to know, starting with identifying the right radio shows, calling the decision maker, creating the tools you'll need, such as media kits, press releases, etc., what to say and what not to say, when to call, and everything else you'll need to get up and running. A critical piece to the puzzle you'll need is a call list or radio station database. Who are you going to call and how are you going to find them? Included in the deal is a very fresh database of 700 plus talk radio stations and hosts. These stations are all currently in the news talk genre, which is where you'll find your best opportunities with a nonfiction title. There are other databases out there starting at around $250 and running as high as $1,000. I'm offering a list of more than 630 stations with hosts interviewing authors and others with interesting, useful, or newsy topics. You'll also receive an additional 85 listings naming high-profile syndicated hosts. Most of these are independent talk show people picked up in many markets by stations looking to fill airtime. In other words, with syndicated radio hosts, you're getting your message out to many markets with a single interview. Let's get right to the facts. How to Get Thousands of Dollars of Free Radio Publicity for Your Book is a 160-plus page PDF that's divided into 3 parts. First, we get into the practical stuff related to identifying shows that will be compatible with your book, business, or project. Next, we'll cover everything you need to know, including how to determine the size of your audience, tips on getting familiar with the host before calling for the booking, how to craft the perfect show pitch, a proven email follow-up contact sample you can change and use, preparing for your interview, strategies for fitting your topic to current events, trends, and fads, getting the most from both local and syndicated talk shows, the best time to call the decision maker, your credentials, media, press kits, reviews, and other social proof, creating a canned interview in the event a host or producer wants a sample of how you come across, optimizing your interview environment, actual samples of my press releases and media kits including reviews, sample show questions, newspaper clippings, book excerpts, and more. A database of more than 630 radio shows that regularly use author expert guests. An additional list of 85 syndicated hosts with contact info, and much, much more. So by now you're probably wondering, what's this going to cost you? $189. Yes, for $189 you're going to have a comprehensive blueprint for promoting your nonfiction book or project. The instructional section of this guide alone is nearly 23,000 words. It's a point-by-point breakdown of virtually everything you'll need in getting booked on talk radio. Up front I mentioned how close I came to giving up as an author. Instead, I stepped out of my comfort zone and began making a good living doing what I love, and it's been free talk radio publicity that's allowed me to do that. Look at it this way. Once you get the hang of doing compelling radio interviews, you should be easily pulling in $189 for 10 to 15 minutes of work. There are more details in the written text below. If you have questions, just shoot me an email and I'll get back to you ASAP. Otherwise, click the link below and get started earning what you're worth with talk radio publicity today. Thanks for watching.